We are here. Thank you guys for watching the Sunday Night Football video we did last night. Back by popular demand. We weren't going to do this game, but I think this will be fun. This is an interesting matchup, right? I mean, look, Seahawks not doing too good, not doing too hot this year. Russ has not been playing well. Last week they got spanked by the Cardinals without their starters at home. Washington's won 2 straight games. They're still in the playoff hunt. If they can string together a couple of wins here, I think they can get the momentum and maybe get a wild card spot. They beat Tom Brady 2 weeks ago. They beat Cam Newton at home. I don't know, man. Like, if you had to blindly look at the line here, what would you say that this game would be? You would think it'd be in favor of Washington at home, right?
Yeah, I think I would give Washington at least close to a pick'em, just given the fact that they're at home in this matchup. But I don't think that's what it is.
Seattle's favored, -1. They're -116 on the money line, so it is kind of a pick'em. But you'd think that Washington, being at home, having come off of 2 straight wins, looking pretty good, you'd think they'd have a little bit more momentum going into this game, but maybe the public doesn't see it that way. I don't know, man. I don't understand this. I think Seattle, maybe this is their time. This is their last shot to do anything. Russ is maybe a little bit more healed up. Maybe, he's gotten 2 games under his belt, has looked terrible, hasn't even had a touchdown in those 2 games. You got to think he's gonna fix that. And Seattle has always notoriously been a late in the season team. Like they always find a way to play well at the end of the year. It's just not the same team this year. So does Seattle? I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Can Seattle win this game against Washington, or am I just looking at the record and looking at the recency bias here and kind of throwing Seattle out of this?
Look, so there's a couple things to keep in mind, right? As long as Russell Wilson is on the field, Seattle has a chance to win games. I think that there's more going on behind the scenes in Seattle than that's being let out. I mean, I'm seeing potential rumors about him being traded to the Giants, him being traded to the Browns in the offseason. Like, there's all kinds of crap that's going on with this team. But as long as Russell Wilson's on that squad, they have a chance to win, right? DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, they're just too explosive when Russ is on target. That being said, I think people are just sleeping on Washington a little bit. The Heineke man, he really, it wasn't expected to meet many expectations coming in to fill in, right? He's still a backup quarterback.
Yeah,
dude's not playing bad. He's been playing pretty decent football. So I think people just haven't really expected what they're seeing over there, and it's the Washington football team. Nobody cares about them right now. They don't even have a name. So
the team with no name. Heineken man is priced so low this week. He's at 9,800. He's according to projections, he's probably going to be the most popular player on the slate, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's been doing pretty well as of late, and the Seattle defense isn't very good at stopping the pass.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's plenty of opportunity here. Personally, I think that Antonio Gibson is probably a little underpriced for a slate like this.
Yeah.
But I don't think Taylor Heineke is a bad way to go on this slate. But if he's going to be chalky as hell, I don't mind fading him, coming in a little bit under the field.
Yeah, I hear that. All right, let's go to injuries here. So there's a lot to talk about here, especially on the Washington side of things. But it's the Seahawks, so they're going to have injuries in the backfield. That's just what day is it? Oh, Seahawks are injured. Mm-hmm. Carson's out for the season. Travis Homer's out. Rashad Penny's out. So you got DJ Dallas, you've got Alex Collins filling in. Alex Collins hasn't looked too hot. DJ Dallas is priced up. So it's, to me, the backfield for Seattle is not something I'm looking forward to playing this week, especially going against a halfway decent Washington football team rush defense. Previous years Washington football team has had a pretty good defense. This year, not so much. But I think the rush defense can in this particular game stop the Seahawks, but we'll see. When it comes to football team, we've got a lot to talk about here. So Logan Thomas is questionable. Apparently he's questionable, but he's more on the probable side of things. He's been out with a hammy injury since week 3. If they can get him back, man, that's huge for him. And he's priced down. He's a good price this week. If he plays, the one thing I'm worried about, last night Kareem Hunt had a pitch count for whatever reason. When he was on the field, they looked pretty good. And there was one big third down where he wasn't on the field. They threw it to Felton, and he dropped the ball. I mean, look, I'm venting a little bit about last night. I don't know why you wouldn't just play the guy. Their season's over at this point. Play your best players. Anyways, so it's something we have to worry about again here. You can't trust the reports. You can't trust these coaches. You can't trust anybody when it comes to the NFL. Logan Thomas, if he does play, it's possible he could be on a pitch count, so play at your own risk, but I really do like him. And Ricky Seals-Jones is out, or doubtful with a hamstring injury, so that's just more reps for Logan Thomas. Curtis Samuel is questionable with a groin injury. He's been out for a while. I think did he play last week? He did play last week. Yeah, Curtis Samuel did play last week. No, I'm sorry, he didn't. No, I'm completely wrong. Yeah, that's my bad. He's been out since week 5. He played a couple plays in week 5, and he's been out. So, I mean, if Curtis Samuel plays, man, you got to be interested in him. I'm really upset that he didn't play this year because I was high on him this year. He's one of these Swiss Army knife guys that can do anything, like Jarvis Landry style. Except he'll run the ball more. Adam Humphries is also questionable. So keep an eye on this stuff. Like last night, we were building our lineups with Rashard Higgins because his price was nice. He was a healthy scratch. He was inactive. So if you got to pay attention to those things as we get closer to lock. 6:50 Eastern time is when they come out with those inactives. So just keep an eye on that. And obviously Chase Young's out for the year, so that does affect the pass rush quite a bit. Thoughts on these injuries? Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel. Are you interested if either of these guys are active or both are active? Are you interested in? It's a little risky, right, to play these guys?
Yeah. So Logan Thomas, real quick, he still has to be activated off of IR.
Yeah, true.
So I think we should get news on that probably in the next 30 minutes to an hour and a half. So keep an eye on that. Join the Discord. Make sure that you're keeping up to date. We'll post any notes that we get for that.
And by the time this video is playing, we should have information. So we'll comment.
Exactly. And with that said, he is 4,800, so I'm not going to be scared to take risk on him. Kareem Hunt ended up being a little bit limited last night, but he was 7K. At 4,800, if he goes out and gets 4 or 5 touches or catches for 50, 60 yards, that's not terrible, and I definitely don't mind playing him. That said, he does. Maybe they're going to save him for a red zone run. Right. So if he has opportunities in the red zone, then that could be a pretty big opportunity for him at 4,800. Other than that, the only guy that I'm really interested in is Curtis Samuel. If he gets run and he's not limited, the dude's too explosive to not keep on my roster. So I'll have some exposure to him. And
he's probably going to be both those guys are probably going to be lower owned than they should if they were at full strength, obviously. But they have upside. They really do in a game like this. All right, let's get into this breakdown. Break it down. So we're going to try to keep this show relatively short, guys. We appreciate the support. Go ahead and throw us a like real quick. Hey, let's try to get back to 50 likes again today. Let's try it. Can we do it? I don't know. Let's try it again. 80% of our views, first of all, we appreciate the support, guys. 80% of our views are from non-subscribers, so just hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. It encourages us to keep making these shows. So Taylor Heineke is 9,800 and Russell Wilson is 11K. So Heineke, man, 9,800. That's slightly above. I think I use Ben DiNucci as like the Mendoza line, like pretty much. what's Ben DiNucci price at? Okay, yeah, that's a good price for a quarterback. Taylor Heineke is around that. 9,800 is a good price for him, right?
Yeah, I mean 9,800. I think that's what Baker was last night, and Baker had the groin, ankle, shoulder, back, and his cousin was injured. So
yeah, he's on the Gronkowski regimen apparently.
Yeah, right. Well, no, because I mean, even Gronk put out numbers yesterday, and he doesn't play.
Yeah.
So, look, the Heineke man, he's in a good spot. He's projected for damn near the same amount of points as Russ, and he's 1,200 cheaper. I don't see how you can come off of him. The Seattle defense is not good. This game has a 1-point spread, so it should be pretty competitive. If we look at his weeks of performance here, he is in the last, what is this, like week 10, he has 3 performances under 12 fantasy points. Everything else is above that. So I don't know, man. I think Heineke's in a great spot. I'll have a bunch of them. I think you can play. I think you can even play him a captain occasionally. He's gonna have. He has additional rushing upside. Dude had 10 attempts against the Packers. I don't even know why you're rushing at your quarterback when you have literally nobody else on your team. And he rushed 10 times.
And he should have had two rushing touchdowns in that game, if I remember. They stopped him twice on the goal line. He should have had 2 rushing touchdowns. That changes everything. Even if he scored one rushing touchdown.
So 3 red zone attempts in that game. 3 red zone rushing attempts. So I'll assume those 3 carries were, let's give him graciously 5 yards. So that means this dude had 7 carries for 90 yards essentially outside of the red zone. That's dumb, man. Especially for a 9,800 guy. I was willing to play Baker without any rushing upside. So Taylor, I love Taylor. I think he's going to be in a bunch of lineups that I have today.
Yeah, there's no reason to get too fancy with him. A quarterback on a showdown slate is a good option always. You can try to be different by fading one guy or even 2 if you're crazy. I just don't know that you need to in a game like this. I just really don't. I mean, if I'm going to fade anybody, I'm going to be under the field on Russ, but I honestly don't think I need to do that either. I think both of these guys are in my core. I might not play them at captain. I might focus on some of these higher upside guys, but I like both of them. Russ, he's coming off that finger injury, on your throwing hand. It's taken him a few weeks to get back. He missed, weeks 5 through 9. Hasn't been easy for him. Look at his numbers; they haven't been good even before he got injured. I mean, look at that though. Let's talk about this. So week 1, 2, 3, and 4, he got injured in that week 5 game. Not bad. I mean, his lowest output was 16 fantasy points. So if he can just get back to where he was, just a baseline, and even a little bit below that, I really think this could be his breakout game. I don't know, man. Am I overthinking this? Is it too much of a narrative? I just have too much. We've seen, as Cardinals fan, we've seen so much Russell Wilson, and we know whenever he's down, he always picks himself back up, and he always is that same guy. I don't know, man. Can he do that again? He needs to. He needs to do something here.
Yeah, dude's been doing it for over a decade. I have no reason to think that he's not going to do it again. He has the ability to go out there and crush. 2 of the last 3 games have been against divisional opponents. Actually, literally the last 3 games are 3 of probably the top 6 teams in the NFL. So I don't think it's crazy to. I don't think it's crazy to kind of just not necessarily take as much stock in that. I think the Minnesota game would probably be closest to. I don't know if the Minnesota defense is as good as the Washington defense is, but I think that might be kind of the same team, kind of more on par with where the Washington football team is. And it looks like he put up pretty decent points there, almost 17. So it's Russell Wilson, man. I feel more comfortable playing him than I do fading him. So I think this is a slate to not overthink it, man. If you can get both quarterbacks, play them. You're probably going to need to make some roster decisions as you start building. You're probably not going to need to have both wide receivers from the Seattle side, for example. And that means you're going to need one of the maybe you go with Russ. But again, you might be comfortable. You might be fine just throwing in Tyler Lockett at captain and maybe grabbing 1 or 2 other pieces from Seattle and fading Russ and then doing a 4 run back with Heineke. So I just think it's going to be situational building that determines whether or not you have both. But either way, I'm going to be pretty evenly split between the 2 if I don't have both in all my lineups.
Look, Seattle's 3-7. They've lost 2 straight. This is their last. I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs. They're in the NFC West. But if they can't win this game, I mean, they might lose out. I mean, I haven't looked at their schedule recently for the end of the season, but they have more divisional games against San Francisco, Arizona. Have they played? Has the Cardinals played them twice I don't think so. They're going to have to play these three teams that are some of the best in the entire NFL, and San Francisco is looking hot right now too. So they just got to pick it up.
That's the last game of the season, by the way, against the Cardinals. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so I mean, I know it's a narrative thing, and I'm sort of thinking that way, but Russell Wilson's got to tear it up in this game. I think he can. So running backs, let's start with Washington here. This is always an interesting thing. Antonio Gibson is 8,600. That's kind of a ridiculously low price for him. J.D. McKissick 7,200. I don't know why he's priced at 7,200. I like J.D. McKissick around the $3,000, $4,000 range. I don't know that I like him that much at that price, right?
Yeah, he's a little expensive. He is seeing about 50-50 playing time with Antonio Gibson. Let's see, and it's kind of been wishy-washy over the past few weeks. But at his price, I'm probably going to be less likely to play him.
More at captain than flex. Look at this. Every other week, it seems like he's going off. Then he has one fantasy point, and it's kind of like a captain option. I really think so.
I absolutely think so too. Now, here's the other thing: is I'm also not opposed to handcuffing both, right? Running Gibson and McKissick, and then maybe only taking one other piece from the Washington side. That being said, they do have the opportunity to eat up a lot of usage, and I mean, they give up Seattle gives up the second most fantasy points to running backs in the NFL. So there's definitely going to be opportunities there for these running backs to get involved in the game. Antonio Gibson, we already know what he can do. The problem is with him is he's getting less and less targets. It looks like, he's trending down for the past 3 weeks. Last week he had none, but it looks like he's getting maybe 2 a game at this point.
Yeah,
I opened the season with 5, so that is kind of concerning when it comes to Antonio Gibson, and probably is why his price is dipped a little bit low. But again, I mean, didn't he have 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns last Thanksgiving or something like that?
Oh yeah, he crushed.
Yeah, Antonio Gibson can absolutely crush. This is a get-right defense that he's playing against, so this is a good opportunity for him to go out and kill it. His ownership's coming in really low. Same with J.D. McKissick. I know it's still early, but I think that ownership is enough to make me kind of consider them both a little bit more than I normally would.
I wouldn't say he's got Jonathan Taylor or Eckler or now Leonard Fournette ceiling, but he's the kind of guy that can absolutely break a slate. He hasn't done it this year necessarily, but we saw that Thanksgiving game. We saw in other games last year that he has that upside. And, you're going against a team that ranks 22nd in yards per game against the rush. That could be an opportunity. One thing to point out, if Curtis Samuel does play, it'll be his first game back, but I think that hurts McKissick a little bit. Do you agree? I think, will he take away some snaps from him? In that, if they do the Gibson McKissick on the same field or at the same time, would they utilize Samuel a little bit in that role?
I don't know if they'd line him up directly at running back. To be honest with you, I think they'd still keep him slotted out and then maybe motion him into the backfield if needed. So I do think it takes away just sheer amount of targets that McKissick is going to be able to get because you probably going to have more designed screens and bubble routes for Curtis Samuel directly or jet sweeps. So again, I think that kind of limits the amount of upside that McKissick has. But again, that also depends on what you're expecting from Curtis Samuel. We don't know how healthy he is. He tried to come back from IR a couple weeks ago. It didn't work out. And I know because he's been sitting on my season long all my bench this entire year.
Yep.
So it's been a pain in the ass. But right now I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to focus on Antonio Gibson, maybe get a little bit of McKissick. And if Samuel's playing, I don't think it's going to alter my exposure to McKissick much anyways, just because of I wasn't planning on going too heavy on him.
Yeah. So other side of things, Alex Collins is 6,600. DJ Dallas is priced up to 5,200, and then you got a guy Josh Johnson at 200. I don't know that I'm going to play him, but we got to talk about a $200 guy. Alex Collins at 6,600. Man, I just don't know about him this week or lately. I mean, look at the last few games. I'm not trying to look at recency bias too much here. I know he has an opportunity. He's a very dynamic player and he's pretty fast. But Pittsburgh game, He had 20 carries, and since then he's been trending down quite a bit. Hasn't scored a touchdown since that week 6 game. 3 fantasy points, 5, 4, 5. It just doesn't look good to me. And maybe his ownership will be super low because of that. But I don't love him, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I probably won't have much exposure to Alex Collins, if any. 6,600 just isn't. It's actually kind of a fine price.
Pretty good price. I mean, it's a Tyson Williams range, you know.
Yeah,
I think he's better than him.
So here's the one case that let me try and make a case for playing him.
Okay,
his ownership is going to be low, but this is a 1-point spread. This should be a balanced game. Seattle shouldn't need to abandon the run game immediately. They were getting destroyed by the Cardinals, and they've been getting destroyed by the teams that they've been playing. I guess if you take away Jacksonville, that doesn't really count. He should have crushed there. But Arizona, Green Bay, like those are tough teams. Arizona's an easy team to run against, though, but he's not really going to get the same amount of opportunity considering they were down almost the entire game.
Yeah.
So that's really the only case that I have for him. We all know the Washington defense is solid, and I just don't know this is the greatest opportunity for him to get going. And then DJ Dallas at 5,200 is still just priced too high for me.
Way too high.
Closer, probably like 2,500.
Look at this, 400, 2,000. I mean, the highest he was 5,200 in week 7 for whatever reason. Yeah. I'm sure there was a lot of injuries, and they priced him up because of injuries. I get it, because he's usually the number 3 guy behind Homer. But he hasn't proven himself to ever be able to pay off that price tag. I think all of these guys, man, like Collins, Dallas, it's a trap. I don't know, man. I'm not into it. I could be wrong. I'll have a little bit of exposure to them, but I'm not loving it. All right, you want to move on to wide receivers?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Tyler Lockett here, 10.2K. Earlier in the year, it was the other way around. It was DK Metcalf trending up, Tyler Lockett trending down. DK was better with, what's his bucket? I'm forgetting his name, the backup, the guy who I thought was out of the league for 5 years already. Who am I talking about here? Backup quarterback. Hang on, let me look.
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith, sorry. That was rookie move there. It seemed like Metcalf was better with Geno, and we know that Tyler Lockett has super high upside with Russ. DK Metcalf's 8,800, man. It's pretty low for him. It's usually the other way around. And last week he was 10K. He really hasn't been under 9K this entire season, and now they're tempting us. DraftKings wants us to play DK Metcalf because that's just too good of a price, man.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I don't understand why he's priced down like that. If anything, they should both be like 9,600 just so that you can't play them both together or something. I don't know. I like them. Both of these guys are tournament plays anyway, so you're kind of just taking a random stab at which guy you think is going to go off, and having that price discrepancy just makes it so weird, right? Like, I don't know, dude. Washington, what did I have up here? Give me 1 second. Pull this back up. So Washington, I mean, they're middle of the pack when it comes to giving up points to wide receivers.
Yards wise, though, they're basically they're 30th in pass defense, and they're 270 yards per game they give up. They're like one of the worst teams against the pass.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I read that backwards. They're giving up the 6th most fantasy points to wide receivers.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying go play both DK and Tyler Lockett, but they are going to be centerpieces of my entire build. Like, there's literally nobody else in the Seattle offense other than these two guys.
Yeah.
You have Gerald Everett, who's starting to become pretty decent, but that apparently is the one place that the Washington defense does excel in, is playing against the tight ends. So again, I'm not going to get crazy here. I'm going to have one of these guys in every single lineup.
Yeah, you have to.
And then, maybe you can start taking stabs at guys like Freddie Swain, Penny Hart, and D. Eskridge. If Eskridge plays, I do like him. He's their young rookie guy that they want to get involved. So if he's healthy, if he's active, it could be one of those opportunities where Pete Carroll says, fuck it, let's see what he can do.
Eskridge, $200, Penny Hart, $200, Freddie Swain, $2,200. Yeah, you got to take flyers on these guys. And if Dwayne Eskridge is active and healthy and ready to go, man, you gotta think about a $200 guy like that, even Penny Hart, because if you play one of these $200 guys, first of all, your roster construction is going to be a lot different than everybody else, and not to mention you could put a Tyler Lockett and a DK Metcalf together with Russ potentially. I think it's a decent option to try some of these lower end guys, do a stars and scrubs. We'll play with that when we build, but I think you're right, man. Either one of these guys in your lineup, and specifically one or the other at captain. I think that's the best option in a tournament for captain. That's just my opinion now. Spoiler alert.
And I have one more thing to say, is it looks like Tyler Lockett's price increase is going to make DK Metcalf immensely more popular.
Yeah.
If that's the case, like, I'm just going to have a shitload of Tyler Lockett. Like, again, it's definitely a toss-up. We don't know which one's going to do well. DK Metcalf could have had a big night. I think it was actually against the Cardinals. I think he dropped the touchdown pass or something along those lines.
Yeah.
There were a couple opportunities where he had, like, don't get me wrong, the Cardinals defense, they did not play perfectly. There were opportunities for them to make big plays, and they missed them. So those are things that can absolutely change your output. And both these guys are going to get down the field opportunities to blow it up. So, I'm going to have a hell of a lot of exposure to both these guys. I'm just going to lean heavier on the guy that's under-owned.
And look, Tyler Lockett is more of a boomer bust guy. He can get most of his yards on 3 or 4 receptions. He relies on the big play. DK Metcalf relies on the big play as well, but he can still get you there. He'll get you 7-8 receptions. He's a beast in the red zone. I think personally, if they were priced the same, I'd go with DK Metcalf in a game like this, knowing that Tyler Lockett has the higher upside, I think. But either one of these guys, man, I love them, and I think they're going to be under-owned just because, Seattle hasn't done well in the past game. All right, other side of things here. We've got Scary Terry. Take it away on this, Ellie. Let's have you do this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So Scary Terry is really going to be the primary guy that we're looking at here. I think he's a really interesting captain play. The dude is just tearing it up. He's been making incredible catches, and he's quite quietly becoming one of the more elite wide receivers. He's probably top 10 in the NFL. And again, he just plays for the Washington football team, so nobody gives a shit. I think it was a couple weeks ago, he had this insane sideline catch, like through a wide receiver. Yeah. And that was kind of his biggest piece, right? Was he's trying to build in those other pieces to become a possession wide receiver, the ability to go up and make those catches, contested catches. His big thing has been his big play ability and ability to get separation and get open. So if he's added that new dimension to his game where he's physical and can go run down balls, track down balls in tight coverage, that just gives him immensely more benefits to me.
Yeah.
We know he's going to get all the volume. So again, this is just one of those situations. He's going to be a main staple of my entire lineups for the night. And I'm probably going to have a solid amount of captain as well. Beyond that, like it kind of just it's way too tight. The salary prices or the salary is just too middling for me on a lot of these other guys, and there's a lot of people that have the potential to be active due to the amount of questionable tags that we have, right?
Yeah.
So Curtis Samuel plays. I think he's immediately an awesome value at 5K. DeAndre Carter at 5,600. I think he's fine if Samuel's out.
3 straight weeks with a touchdown for him.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now, the one thing that DeAndre Carter does have is if we're looking at his potential to get open, like he's getting a lot of decent targets. It's just let's see, what is it? Expected fantasy points. He's expected 26 fantasy points based on his targets. So he's getting involved in some of the deeper plays and getting a lot of the air yards. He does have the opportunity to break it away, right? The one thing that's going to impact him is having Curtis Samuel back. Right now, he's kind of that 2/3, where Adam Humphries is kind of rotating as the other 2 or 3 wide receiver. So it's very important that we keep track of news here. Yeah. Beyond that, man, I really don't think that I'm going to be getting much exposure to anybody. Cam Sims, De'Ami Brown, and Dak's mine. I don't even know if he's in your player pool.
He is. But $200. I think the only reason why some of these guys like Cam Sims and De'Ami Brown and Milne are projected for any points is just because of the Q tag on 2 of these wide receivers. There's a chance that both of these guys don't play.
Right. If they don't play, I think that you might be able to look at De'Ami Brown.
Or
I
Cam
do.
Sims too.
Yeah, Cam Sims as well at 3,800. Now, that said, I may just feel better paying up for DeAndre Carter. Somehow, I think there's going to be other ways to kind of save a little bit of salary there. But again, most of these guys aren't viable unless Curtis Samuel and Humphreys are both out.
Yeah.
If Curtis Samuel is out, I think it gives immediate boost to DeAndre Carter. Everybody else, I'm really just not that interested in.
If one of these two guys is out, maybe you can still consider Cam Sims or something. Or, I mean, Cam Sims is a 3,800, so maybe a guy like De'Ami Brown. But I just don't. I'd rather just focus on McLaurin and Carter, and the one guy that's maybe active. But if both of them are out, you can take those shots for sure. It's a little risky, but take the shot. Terry McLaurin's 10.6K, Carter's 5,600, Curtis Samuel 5K for our podcast listeners. Adam Humphreys is 2,800. I'm going against a guy with in season long. Terry McLaurin is his last player, and I think I'm up by 13 fantasy points, and there's no one playing for me. So I might hedge and just at this point take a ton of Terry McLaurin, and if he goes off, then maybe I can make some of my entry fees back with some DK money. All right, tight end. So Logan Thomas, 4,800. If he is activated, which it is projected that he will be activated today, and 4,800, man, this guy, going into the year, I overrated him a little bit. Maybe it's because he's a former Arizona Cardinals quarterback. I overrated him a little bit. I put him one of the top 5 tight ends. At least I thought he was. And he hasn't really obviously paid off that because of his injuries. But when he does play, man, he is a monster, and he's a guy that can really get you there. I mean, last season he had games where he was having 15 targets, 12 targets. He's kind of like the Waller when it comes to targets when he's healthy. So it's a little risky to play him because we just don't know what his snap count's going to be. But they don't have anybody else. Ricky Seals-Jones, another Arizona Cardinals guy that he came back from the dead by being on this team. He's had a few good games. He's not going to play most likely. He's doubtful. So what are they going to have Johnny Bates out there the whole game? Well, you know what I mean? We're getting into December, man. They got to win these games. They can't just ease Logan Thomas in necessarily. If they're saving him for the playoffs, they might not even make the playoffs. So just play him. That's my thoughts, right?
Yeah, I mean, at Logan Thomas at 4,800 is fine. If he was 7K, like we were talking about earlier in the show, it might be a little bit more difficult to get up to him. But at 4,800, really don't have too many issues getting him in there. He is really their second or third best player, depending on if you determine if it's Antonio Gibson, Terry, and then him. But I think he's fine. He's priced well enough. Again, the biggest piece of news here is we don't know what kind of last minute update we get here. We need to find out that he's truly activated before we get crazy. If he's not, I actually don't mind getting a little bit of exposure to John Bates. It looks like, he was on the field 95% of the time last week. So obviously if Logan Thomas isn't playing, he's the guy. They'll have a little bit of they'll have Samus Reyes or whatever the hell his name is fill in a little bit to cover some of the gap and spell John Bates a little bit. I don't know if you can use spell for tight ends, but this is a good position as well. It's not like the Seattle defense is great at stopping fantasy production from the tight ends either. They're number 8 in total points allowed, and over the past several weeks they haven't done any better. Zach Ertz scorched them for 2 touchdowns. And I know we keep going back to that one game, but a lot of these games I'm going to have a lot more insight because I'm watching them play the Cardinals. So I think that this is a good opportunity. Logan Thomas is in a spot for a get-right game. And even if you expect Logan Thomas to be a top 5 tight end in the NFL, that pricing still would put us closer to what it was Mark Andrews, 8,600 last night or 8,900. So I would expect him to be closer to 8,500. The snaps limit probably put me down to about 6,500. 4,800, I'm more than willing to play Logan Thomas. And in fact, if you think that there's an opportunity, he looked good in practice based on what I can find on Twitter. So, there could be opportunity for him to get red zone targets. Maybe that's what they're saving him for, is to get the red zone opportunities. If that's the case, then he's, you might be okay running a random ass lineup with him at captain. So, 4,800, play him. I spent way too much time talking about a tight end that's probably going to have 4 targets and 80 yards at most.
Well, I mean, look, his ownership's going to be lower than it should be.
Yeah,
for sure. So it's risky because we just don't know how much he's going to play or how healthy he really is. But I'm willing to take that risk if his ownership's coming in around 20%.
So let's put it this way, right? Curtis Samuel is 5K. Do we expect Curtis Samuel? Well, let's use the Seahawks defense since they're 4600.
But I think that's a good point to bring up. I would rather play Logan Thomas all day because I think Logan Thomas is a little bit more healthier than Samuel at this point. Like you brought it up earlier. I mean, he was supposed to come back and they had put him back on IR.
Yeah, and well, I mean, if we even compare this, like, do we really expect? I mean, well, this would probably make me play a little bit more Curtis Samuel. Do we expect Curtis Samuel to score the same amount of fantasy points half as often as Logan Thomas? Normally I would say no, but given the injury situation, I think it's close. But that would imply that we probably need to own a little bit more Curtis Samuel if he ends up active than we do Logan Thomas. But let's put it this way. Logan Thomas and the Seahawks defense are damn near even in ownership projections. And the Seahawks defense is $200 cheaper.
No.
Like, there's no world you can tell me where you think the Seahawks defense can consistently score the same amount of points as Logan Thomas to warrant you putting them in your lineups 50-50, right? I'd still have a 4 to 5 to 1 ratio comparing Logan Thomas to Seahawks and kind of just down the line.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm talking about when we say that he's under-owned at 15 to 20%. That's dumb. Like, that really is dumb at 4,800. Are there other guys in that price range that you think are going to consistently outscore him or even have any similar type of output or floor? So I don't think so. So I'll be playing him unless we find a better punt option.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Kickers: Joey Sly 4,200, Jason Myers 4K. This is a decent opportunity for kickers again.
Seattle, bro, for tight end.
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
No worries. It's
Gerald Everett.
Simple. 6,200, Gerald Everett's probably too expensive. I'd rather play Logan Thomas. Will Disley, 600. I'm fine with it. Last piece. And then Michael J. Fox is $200. Don't plan on playing him. And sorry, Colby Parkinson. I can't tell that joke anymore. We're probably going to get in trouble.
Look, Gerald Everett has a high ceiling. I think he's one of these. He's a big-bodied receiver playing tight end. And I always will take a few stabs at him. But Will Disley, 600, man. Like, we've brought this up many times. He's not the same player he was a few years ago when he was like one of the hottest fantasy tight ends for like a 4 or 5 week stretch or something where he was going off. He's not the same player. He's been injured a lot, and this offense isn't as high powered. But $600 for Will Disley, man. I think he's going to be my low owned touchdown pick in this game.
I mean, dude, this is a fine punt play. Like, this is a really fine punt play. We're going to need builds that we can get, that we can kind of jam in some of these high-priced guys. The concentration of target share and just volume in general is Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, right? So, like, if we can find ways to get as many of those guys as possible, I think we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so Joey Sly, Jason Myers, I think you have to consider it was a 47 total and 2 teams that just aren't that good. You just got to consider these kickers more so than usual. And when it comes to defense, the football team, I know they're without Chase Young. That hurts them quite a bit, but going against Russ, he has not looked good. And you can expect maybe some turnovers from them. I personally think Russ is going to step it up and have a good game. So I'll probably a little bit less Washington football team defense. They're hovering right around 20% ownership, and Seahawks are hovering right around 15 to 20% ownership as well. And Seahawks are actually more expensive than the football team, which is a little interesting, right?
Yeah, that is interesting to me. I'm not really sure where some of this ownership and favoritism is going towards Seattle.
I don't
get
get
that Russell Wilson's back.
Is it the bandwagon fans? Like, it's got to be.
maybe it's the November thing. Later on in the season, Seattle tends to improve, which is what it is. But they still don't have their offensive line is not blocking. They're not doing some of the little stuff well.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I do like Washington football team as a potential dart throw that I'm going to be having in some of these lineups. You're going to. We saw it last night, right? I mean, Lamar Jackson threw 4 interceptions against the Browns defense.
Yeah.
The Browns defense is not as good as the Washington football team. They might have a better defensive line right now that Chase Young is out. But I don't know that they're much better beyond that. So I think that Washington has an opportunity to get some sacks and takeaways and potentially, blow this game open. You can probably have Russ and the football team together in the same lineup too.
Yeah. I anticipate there's probably going to be one defensive/special team touchdown in this game. Whether it be a fumble recovery, an interception for touchdown, I think it will happen. Now, will that be enough to pay off the defense? Probably, but I don't know. Who knows?
And here's one last thing, dude. Like, you don't know. You might get random ducks from Russell Wilson. Just because his finger is better, it doesn't mean his grip is perfected, right? Like, you can just you've all had weird injuries where, like, sometimes your leg just gives out when you walk, like, a year later. Like, we don't know what that shit's going to happen. That's how you end up with pick sixes, man.
Yep. All right, fade of the night. Of course, we said this was going to be a quicker show, and absolutely it's not, but we're moving along. Ellie, you're saying max 1 Seattle wide receiver per lineup. I'm saying go under the field on Alex Collins. There's not much to explain here. We kind of already talked about that. So anything to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you can play both in your lineups and you think the total is going to go over 47, then for sure play Lockett and Metcalf. But I'm just not that guy. I think you're going to be forced to fade one. That way you can get to McLaurin, Gibson, and Heineke.
The biggest question is, if you play both of them together, do you have to play Russ?
Yeah, I would say so. Because both those guys, for them to pay off their price tag, they both need like 100 yards and a touchdown or 2. So if that's happening, then Russ is thrown for 350 and like 4 touchdowns, which kind of brings me back to my point of max 1.
Unless it's a low-scoring game and you expect both of these guys to get 8 or 9 receptions or something. That would be the only reason why Russ wouldn't be in the lineup with them.
Right.
All right. Crown their ass segment. Our captain choice.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
Ellie, you're going Antonio Gibson. I'm going either Lockett/DK. Gibson's nice, man. He's got that high ceiling, man. Talk to me. Because I know a lot of people skip directly to this point. So, bring us back with a summary of your thoughts on Gibson.
Yeah, man. Antonio Gibson's a stud. He's a young guy. He's getting the volume of the running back or the rush attempts for Washington. This is a great opportunity for him to get right. He's been splitting snaps with J.D. McKissic, but Seahawks defense is trash, man. They are just not good when it comes to stopping the run. They allow the second most fantasy points to running backs in the NFL, and over the past 4 weeks, they haven't been much better. They're still, they're at number 3. So Antonio Gibson, he's going to get a minimum of 15 carries, probably closer to 20. You could see him get 1 or 2 opportunities in the passing game. It's just kind of a no-brainer to me. And I think Washington has a chance to win this game, and I think that correlates to running the ball well and playing good defense. So that's where I like to see him start, and that's what I think is going to happen here. Now, just before I hand it back to you to talk about your wide receivers, I do want to mention one more Washington player that I'm really interested in a captain as well, and that's going to be Terry McLaurin. I know he's priced a little bit higher. Gibson's, I like him because of where he's priced. He gives a little bit of flexibility, but Scary Terry's been dominating, man, and again, this is an opportunity. He only needs 1 or 2 catches to break off, so those are really the 2 guys that I'll be prioritizing from the Washington side.
I agree with you on both those. All 4 of these guys are going to be my highest owned captains by far. So Lockett, we know his upside. We know DK's upside. I mean, look, Washington's defense is one of the worst against the pass, and Russell Wilson's getting a little bit healthier. You can argue, and this is a do or die game for Seattle. I think they have to win this game. And I expect the only way that they can stay close / win this game is by Lockett or DK going off. So I'm going to prioritize them at captain. And I'm going to have some Gibson and McLaurin and maybe a little McKissick just in case thrown in there. And maybe 1 or 2 Logan Thomases. All right, so let's get into our lineup build here. All right, before we hit this, go ahead and throw us a like real quick, guys. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe. Let's build a lineup. This is the optimal lineup here earlier in the day. The Heineken man is captain with Dwayne Eskridge, Alex Collins, Gibson, Metcalf, and Wilson. I don't know. Would you play this lineup?
Probably not. That's interesting.
All right, who do you want to build with first? You want to go with Antonio Gibson?
Yeah, let's start with Antonio.
All right, let's see. So he's like the 2, 4, 6 highest price guy on the slate, so not bad. So we got to just jam in Heineke, right, at that price tag. I really like him a lot in this game.
And then I want to go Russ Lockett and kind of just see where we're at.
Okay, let's see. So we got Lockett here. That leaves us with 6,100 for total for 2 spots. So do you want to
Will Dissly?
Will Dissly, all right. And a guy at 600, you just need a couple catches out of him, maybe, and a touchdown would be amazing. So that leaves us with 5,500. That gets us DJ Dallas. That gets us Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas. I'd rather go Logan Thomas if he's playing, which I think he is.
Yeah, I don't mind Logan Thomas at all.
Leave a couple bucks on the table. That's 2 tight ends and all studs.
So nice.
You're really only punting on one guy here with Will Dissly. And Logan Thomas is a little bit of a question mark, but I really like it. And then you go in and just rotate these guys out. Put in Samuel, put in Logus, put in Dallas. That's what I'll be doing.
Now, so let's do that again. So put in, instead of, we had Logan Thomas on the first one, go ahead and throw in his backup, John Bates.
Okay. John Bates at 3,600. Do you want to pull out Will Dissly and see what we can get? 2,500.
Yeah.
So that gets us Freddie Swain and pretty much Jarrett Patterson. So I'd rather go Swain all day.
Yeah. So that's another build that I don't necessarily hate too. So this is something that it's still balanced. You got the 3-3. Given what we're seeing too, is it looks like ownership's going to be heavy for Seattle. I don't know why. Roster construction may force us closer to 3-3, but I don't hate a build like this here, especially if you're anticipating Logan Thomas to be limited.
Yeah. All right. So I like this core here. Let's put in DK and see if we can get a little bit of a better build. So DK Metcalf, 8,800, really cheap this week. That's as cheap as he's been all season. 7,500 for 2 spots. Do you want to split it down the middle and get a kicker and another mid-range guy, or do you want to go low and high?
Yeah, I'd say we go back to Dissly. Let's just see what we can do here.
Okay. 6,900. That gets us Alex Collins, Gerald Everett, DeAndre Carter. It gives us a lot of guys, a lot of options. You can go all the way even down to Logan Thomas if you wanted to leave some money on the table.
So let's do that. Let's throw in Logan Thomas then and pull out what's his name, Will Dissly, and see kind of the mid tier.
2,700 doesn't quite get us to Adam Humphries.
So we're back to Freddie Swain. Yeah, and then same scenario here. I mean, even if you wanted to go like, well, actually, dude, who do we have at captain? We have Antonio Gibson. Let's throw in Washington football team.
Okay. Oh, we can't. 4,400.
Oh yeah. My bad.
So I mean, look, basically we're gonna end up with very similar lineups. Just take DK and switch him out with Lockett for all those lineups, and if one goes off, then you're taken care of. All right, let's put Lockett at captain and see what happens. Let's see how easy / hard it is to build with the guy who's the third highest price guy on the slate. So Lockett at captain. Especially a guy like that who's touchdown reliant and deep pass reliant, you just got to throw in Russ with him, I think. And we probably want to put in the Heineken man again because of his price. So let's run it back with a skilled player from Washington. Do you want to try to get a guy like Terry McLaurin in here?
Yeah, if we
can. It leaves us 3,300. So I think, okay, obviously we have Will Dissly. Like, I'm not going to put Will Dissly in every one of these lineups because people think we absolutely love him. He's okay, but I'd rather go. Let's put in like Dwayne Eskridge or something for this. So you got Wilson, Lockett, Eskridge with Heineken, McLaurin. That's 3,100. You can get Humphreys. You can get Swain again. I think that's too many Seattle pass catchers potentially. If Humphries plays, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I like that. With McLaurin in this lineup, it makes it kind of hard, don't you think?
Yeah, what about this? Oh, never mind. That's not going to work because Antonio Gibson is still more than... No. Switch off of Heineke and go down to Antonio Gibson.
Okay. Yeah, that'll save us 1,000 or so. Let's get off of Eskridge. That's 4,500 for 2 spots. So you could go kicker and punt, like a $200 guy. Jason Myers, or Joey Sly. You could get a Cam Sims and go to Will Dissly. As you're seeing, a lot of these builds that we're doing are stars and scrubs. One punt pretty much in every one of these lineups.
So what about this? Okay, so instead of Gibson, throw back Heineke, and let's pull out Russ.
Okay.
I guess. What do you want to throw in? Gerald Everett?
Well, let's look at. Hang on. Let's try Logan Thomas here. With Heineke, McLaurin, and Thomas, and then let's focus on Seattle. See what we can do with Seattle here. Or is there anybody that we're even interested? Well, we could. Okay, no, I don't want to do that. I was gonna say you could put in DK Metcalf, but then punt. But yeah. I don't want to do that without Russ. Where do we go here, man?
We haven't done one with Alex. Let's throw in Alex Collins just so we're not being 2-minute homers.
Yeah. That's 2,900.
All right, so we're right back into Freddie Swain.
Yeah, Swain and Dissly, those might be the value plays so far. But let's try this. Okay, so I like Lockett. These are solid lineups. They really are. But let's just see how much better we can build with DK Metcalf at that price tag. Let's see if it does anything for us. And I know we kind of already had Gibson, which is around the same price, but our builds can be slightly different with Metcalf at captain. So Russ and Taylor Heineke, we can fade Lockett. Where do we go here? Do you want to get an Antonio Gibson or do you want to get McLaurin?
Yeah, let's go Scary Terry.
Okay. 5,400. Freddie Swain and nope, nope, we don't want to do that. Kickers.
I don't mind running D. Eskridge here if you want to punt again.
Let's try it. 5,200. Curtis Samuel, DJ Dallas. Yeah, that's nice actually. I'd rather go Curtis Samuel if he's active, or there you go. There's your Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas fits in really well as one of the last pieces the last 2 pieces. Not bad.
Yeah.
All right, one more. Let's go Scary Terry. And then we'll wrap this up. Second highest price guy on the slate. Let's just optimize and see what happens. So, the optimizer's loving Eskridge at $200. Myers, Metcalf, Heineke, Wilson. It's minus the Myers thing. It's kind of where we would typically end up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't hate that.
So, you have another roster construction that you want to look at with McLaurin?
Yeah, let's try 2-4. Let's throw in Antonio Gibson real quick.
Okay.
And let's go Russ, Lockett.
No Heineken?
No.
Okay.
Disley.
4,300. Let's go with Disley. Or any of these cheap guys. You can rotate them out. 3,700 for the last spot. That gets us John Bates. If Logan Thomas is out, that's a decent option. Or you get Humphries or Swain.
Yeah.
That's a 2-4.
So instead of Lockett, go down to DK.
Okay. Let's see what happens now. I'm going to get rid of those guys real quick.
Yeah.
DK Metcalf, 5,700.
And then I guess let's go. It's going to be hard to do the 4-2 stack. Let's go Freddie Swain.
Okay, 2,200 for him. That leaves 3,500. That gets us an Adam Humphries.
Yeah, same scenario.
Questionable, or go down to Disley or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it doesn't look like so fading McLaurin or the other way, Heineke is the way to go. So I don't know, man. It looks like we're going to be forced into some balanced builds. So I think we just need to find different ways to get different. Maybe running a 2-4 is the way to go tonight.
So any other tips based on what we're seeing? I mean, I think you just have to rotate a lot of these guys out. Like the builds are very similar. Mm-hmm. You could literally lock guys in and just rotate the captains out this week. That could be a way to do it.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to do it. I think we know that the ownership or the volume is concentrated between a very small group of people. So I think you really just need to identify who you think is going to go off, or if you think that there's somebody in that mid tier that has the opportunity to go out and get 100 yards and a touchdown. If you think that person is able to do it, then you need to throw them in a captain and jam in whoever you can. At this point, I think I'm most comfortable punting with a guy like Eskridge or Disley at $200-$600. 5 points from one of those guys could be the difference maker. So that's kind of where I'm approaching the slate from now. I'll just have to keep an eye on what kind of inactives we get as we get closer to lock.
Yeah, 6:50 Eastern is usually when those come out. Comment down below who your favorite captain, who your value play is. Go ahead and comment that down. Low-owned guy you think can score today?
Well, I'm not going to take your guy from you, so I'm actually going to go with Logan Thomas. He's way too low owned based on his price. I don't care if he's limited, man. I don't even know what that means. He's only going to be on the field 50% of the time, so that halves his targets.
Yeah.
So it halved his price. That's about what I would expect.
You're right. All right, we'll see you guys for Thursday Night Football. Take it easy.